Nightcast. Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth brings you the current news from the world today and how it relates to Bible prophecy. Understanding the end-time events leading to the peaceful world tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth.
Well, good evening, friends, and welcome to this Thursday evening, September 17, 2015, here on Nightcast. A huge earthquake has struck Chile, forcing more than 1 million people to evacuate their homes. At least 11 people have died, and Chile's government has declared a state of emergency. The epicenter of the 8.3 magnitude quake was in the Pacific Ocean, less than 10 kilometers from the shore. Jane Chambers reports from Ritoque.
Panic in the capital, Santiago, as residents took to the streets when the earthquake hit in the evening rush hour. But the real damage took place hundreds of kilometers away, the coastal town of Coquimbo, one of the areas worst affected. 4.5-meter high waves devastating fishing communities. The destruction was also felt in the coastal community of Los Vilos. People were killed and homes and businesses destroyed by the powerful tremors.
This is astonishing. No one could imagine so much destruction. The sea came in with such a violent force. I just don't know what we're going to do. Check out our business and see how it fared and start cleaning.
President Michelle Bachelet has travelled north to the worst affected area of the earthquake to assess just how much damage has been done. Lessons have been learnt from the tsunami which hit Chile in 2010. Emergency alerts sent to mobile phones led 1 million people to evacuate to higher ground. The government says that saved many lives. But still thousands have been left without electricity or clean drinking water, and the massive clean-up is just beginning. Copper prices are down and the Chilean economy is floundering. President Bachelet recently had her lowest approval ratings of all time. And here on the Chilean coast, residents are waiting to see whether the government's capable of helping them to clean up yet another natural disaster inflicted on Chile. Jane Chambers, BBC News, Ritoque, Chile.
Okay, Jane, a little windy there. Your microphone a little bit rough on the ending of that one. Friends, we go next to the migrant crisis over in Europe. The Croatian government says that it cannot cope with the sheer numbers of people arriving just a day after welcoming refugees and migrants, following violence at the Hungary border. Thousands have spent the day trying to cross from Serbia into Croatia after Serbia's border with Hungary was closed. Fergal Keen reports from the Croatian border town of Tovarnik.
Another day, another border, and chaos. This was a railway station in rural Croatia, where Europe again struggled to contain a growing crisis, pushed from one part of the continent to another. Frustration had been simmering since morning. Thousands arriving at Dvornik found no trains, no buses. They'd believed they would be transported further north towards Germany. There are war refugees here and economic migrants. All have the same belief that Europe is a promised land. Lana is an Iraqi who came here, like thousands of others, through Turkey. Turkey isn't at war. People will ask, why didn't you stay there, take refuge there?
Because they are not giving us a passport and home or a job. We have nothing in here. Okay? We came to Europe, everyone saying they gave us we can study in here, we can live in there, we have a job, something like that.
Rumours abounded. There would be a train, buses. In the stifling heat, some water, but not enough. And then, angry young men confronted the police. They wanted to walk north. Behind them, families.
Look, there are riot police behind us. You saw what happened in Hungary. Why would you take him where he could get hurt?
Because we're not going to fight.
Go back, shouts the police translator. They had instructions to hold the line. But under pressure allowed some women and children through. And then the unstoppable energy of chaos. The police did not draw batons or use tear gas. Theirs was an impossible task here. Eventually, they broke through.
Well, you can see now the fence has been well and truly breached, and people are surging past me in the hope that they'll get transport up here. But there's really nothing there for them. There aren't enough buses.
This man collapsed and was revived. Elsewhere, an elderly man suffered a heart attack. Such scenes will only deepen nervousness in other European countries, as thousands take to the roads once more. Tonight, Croatia said it wouldn't admit any more migrants and put the army on standby to secure the border. Tonight, a train arrived at Dvornik. Hundreds are still waiting here. But the space was limited. Families were given priority. Separations were inevitable.
It's frankly hard to believe that we are witnessing this in Europe. Certainly the large influx of people has strained resources. But there's also a deeper question about a lack of planning and, critically, a lack of political unity across the EU to deal with this crisis. Fergal Keane, BBC News at Dvornik railway station.
All right, friends, and news from the United States on the Fed interest rate raise that was expected to be announced today. The Fed declines. The latest news report on this is that the Fed declines to raise interest rate amid global market turmoil. You know, the one thing on the minds of every single investor across Asia this week was that question: what will the U.S. Federal Reserve do with interest rates today, on Thursday? One of the factors the Fed was mulling over is the economic slowdown half a world away in China. Now, we have the announcement for you. I just made it, that the Fed declined today to raise the interest rates amid global market turmoil. We're going to go to BBC's Asia business correspondent in a moment. But Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen speaking at a press conference after announcing that the Federal Reserve will not raise rates. I've got a few notes on that. Cautious Federal Reserve policymakers today held a key interest rate at near zero, opting to wait longer to remove the unprecedented easy money stimulus to determine whether recent global financial market volatility has slowed the U.S. economy. Now, the BBC's Asia business correspondent Karishma Vaswani gives some explanations as to why the Fed was mulling the economic slowdown in China.
It's no surprise that China, the world's second largest economy, has become an important consideration for the US Fed. The financial turmoil in Chinese markets in recent weeks has raised concerns that the economy there is slowing down fast and that it's going to have an impact on global growth. After all, as you can see on this graph, 2/3 of global growth in the last 5 years has come from Asia, and 2/3 of that has come from China alone. So when China's economic data and stock markets start to look wobbly, the rest of the world starts to worry. But here's the thing. As economies develop and mature, they slow down. And China's been going through a transition where the government is trying to replace the share that manufacturing makes up of the economy with services and consumption. If you look at the data, it's already happening. The share of the Chinese economy that's now dependent on services and consumption has shot up to almost 50%, according to some economists' estimates. So what does that mean? Well, it means that some of the plummeting manufacturing and investment data you hear about and read about from China is to be expected. It's all part of the government's grand plan. Now, there's no denying that the Chinese economy is slowing down. It may just not be as bad as you might think.
All right, friends, and, from time to time, China and Japan are seen in the news with a little row over some land or islands over in the ocean between them. And Japan is in the news today with scuffles and arguing that broke out in Japan's parliament. The parliament chair could hardly become seated before you hear the crowd becoming. Oh, here they go. The wrangling was over the country's security bill. The bill would change Japan's pacifist constitution to allow its troops to be involved in conflicts overseas for the first time since World War II. All right, isn't anybody going to break them up there? Let's see, they're trying. This is in Japan's Parliament building today. My notes on this, friends, say opposition lawmakers in the upper house have been trying to stop debate on the bill going ahead. And there's even some women involved in that there. All right, tonight's sport match in the Japanese Parliament building. All right, and I guess we'll let this play out till the end of round one. With just a brief reminder, friends, that, one of the things God is allowing man to do in the 6,000 years that God has allotted man to go his own way, make his own laws, decide for himself what's right and what's wrong, which he's proving very incapable of doing, especially in the United States, with laws regarding sodomy and same-sex marriage being forced down the throats of many states that otherwise would have held that kind of thing in check had they not had what is not constitutional. We've got tyranny running rank here in the United States. And we've got an invasion of Muslims happening in Europe. If we would take note of our elder brother Reuben, and the way he's mishandling that situation in France. France is about to be in very serious trouble with a Muslim Islamic-styled uprising from within areas there that have just taken over, where the police are afraid to go in. And with people in the United States who are not obeying God, God has allowed the very basest of men, as he says in his word. He puts the basest of men in office over us. And we've got a leader, a president, who is openly, now he went through a pretense for a while of being yay Christian, but his real background, desire, interest, his real leaning is toward the Muslims, and that's becoming more and more obvious to people today in the news and in many other ways. Now, next week, friends, something related. Our news stories mostly relate to the first 4 of the 7 seals from the book of Revelation. And the first 4, because those are the only ones that are active right now. The 5th seal, the next seal after the first 4, represents the next major event in prophecy that is going to be occurring, and that is, as Jesus Christ described it in plain language, the Great Tribulation. And the first 4 seals that are active now that we're watching, as Jesus Christ instructed us to do, watch these, he said, and pray always about them. Pray deeply from the bottom of your heart, watching news intently. A lot of the news today related to the red seal, the second seal, the red, depicted as a red horse, war and rumors of war, with the migrant situation is a spinoff of this red horse, war and rumors of war. Some of the other news related to the 4th seal, the pale horse, disease epidemic, pestilence, the plagues of Egypt, seismic activity, and Tariq, trouble, mobs, seditions. That's the migrant situation also is becoming a mob situation now as well. But this next story I have just a report on for you, friends, relates to this first seal from the book of Revelation. Let me see if I can cue up a graphic I can put in the background while I tell you about this. I'm just going to have to let something kind of play. It's got music with it. I don't have a license for the music. I can't play all of it. But this first seal is depicted by a white horse that Jesus Christ described in plain language as religious deceit, false religion, false Christ, antichrist. Christ said that many would come in his name, saying that, in fact, Jesus is the Christ, and yet they would deceive many. Now, this story, next week, friends, Pope Francis arrives in the United States to begin an historic 6-day visit. In Washington, D.C., he will hold the first ever canonization mass on U.S. soil, and then give the first address to Congress by a pope. Now, did you get that? It's going to be the first address to Congress by a pope. In New York City, he will attend the United Nations General Assembly to mark its 70th anniversary. The final leg of Pope Francis' U.S. tour is Philadelphia, where the pontiff will preside over the Vatican's World Meeting of Families. It's being billed as one of the largest events in the city of brotherly love in modern times, and could attract up to 1.5 million people. And those are my notes on that. That's coming up next week. Well, friends, this is our last report for this week. We're off Friday and Saturday night. God willing, and the creek don't rise, we'll be back again Sunday night. And I'll also be, for those of you that know about it, I'll be on another channel on Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon also. But otherwise, for those of you who are tuning in just for Nightcast, God willing and the creek don't rise, we'll be back again Sunday night. Until next time, friends, your host, Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth, saying so long and good night, friends.
You have been watching Nightcast with Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth. Nightcast can be seen Sunday through Thursday nights here on cogtv.org. Tonight's program is also available anytime on demand in the cogtv.org video archive.